We are going to have a discussion about a jazz singer and jazz pianist who is not American. She's not an American. Many of you thought she was. She's not. She was born in 1964 in British Columbia, Canada. She grew up in a family with a mother who was a school teacher who sang in the local church choir. That's where the singing came from. And a father who was an accountant who played piano at home. And so at a very early age, she started taking piano lessons and just blossomed. And soon she was challenging all of the entrance exams in the Royal Conservatory of Music, which she got into as a teenager. And as early as 15, she was playing local jazz gigs around British Columbia. This led her to a scholarship at the famed Berklee School of Music. And so somewhere around 1981 or so, she crossed that border. When it was easy to cross the border, I must admit, I was crossing the border back and forth in 1981. It was easy. And she matriculated to the Berklee School of Music in Boston. And she did for a couple of years. And finally she decided, you know what? I've had enough of this. I want to play. And she took off for California in 1983. And this is the part I really love about her journey. She stayed in California playing little gigs all over the place and rubbing shoulders with the working jazz musicians of the area, the Clayton brothers and Jeff Hamilton and people like that, musicians who traveled through California. In other words, for 10 years, up and down the coast, she paid her dues. She was not a flash pan. She learned the hard way, clubs, night after night after night, hanging out with the old cats, learning from the old cats day in and day out for an entire decade. And then in 1993, she returned to Canada and recorded her very first album, Stepping Out. So you see, Berklee was the beginning of her education. But her graduate school was the School of Hard Knocks in California, 10 years. And when she went back to Canada, she had a PhD in jazzology, the hard way. One of the things she learned is there are musicians and then there are real musicians. She learned to tell the difference, and from the very beginning, she surrounded herself with the real musicians. For her first album, she picked Clayton and Hamilton, the two co-leaders of the Clayton-Hamilton Big Band. People who knew each other forever, played forever, had that chemistry going, put them with her, and all of a sudden, you have magic. And that first album, Stepping Out, was magic. And finally, great producers like Tommy LaPluma, they heard this thing, they go, whoa, who is that? And she had that really low contralto voice. And she had the depth and that deep soul that comes from that hard work in the trenches for 10 years. She had a secret weapon. She had a formula. Number one, I'm going to sing material that everybody can relate to. Songs by Dusty Springsteen, songs by Bruce, songs by Nat King Cole, songs from the Great American Songbook. But I'm going to make sure I got some bad cats playing with me, like Hamilton, like, oh, I know, at one time she had Christian McBride and the great Russell Malone guitar when she was doing that Nat King Cole thing. She did it right. Because Nat used guitar and bass, not drums. So when she did Nat King Cole, she used guitar and bass. Yeah, she paid respect. That's what happens when you pay dues, baby. You learn how to do it right. Now, how did this work out for her? Well, she has sold more records than any jazz singer in history. Yeah. A typical sale for her is like 5 million in the US and 15 million worldwide. Oh yeah. Which means she's also getting paid. Because when you working in the trenches paying dues for 10 years, you ain't getting paid. And you learn how the game is played, and when you rise up to the top, you know how to keep from being taken advantage of. So she put together a formula that guaranteed her success. And let's not forget, she's also extremely talented as a vocalist and as a jazz pianist. Okay, this is her journey. This is her formula. Give me some material that relates to everybody. Give me the best musicians I can find. Let me put my old soul that I learned, the tricks in the School of Hard Knocks, put all that together, and I'm a winner, and she is. At some point, she meets Elvis Costello. In 2003, I think, they get married. They actually have twin sons. But the big difference in that relationship came when she started producing and writing for Elvis. So she's now becoming a songwriter. And in that process, she ended up starting writing for herself, and her next album was full of not the Great American Songbook, but her own material, which was based on the more popular song styles that she had learned and had used successfully for years. And it too was a great hit. She has had multiple Grammys, 3 I think. But in Canada, she is revered. She's had 8 Juno Awards, and the Juno Awards are the Canadian equivalent of the Grammys. This is a true pioneer who learned to do it the right way, who has never compromised on the integrity of her art form, who has never compromised on the integrity of the musicians who accompany her, no matter what she has done with these 20-some albums she has recorded. Doesn't matter, it's always going to be a top-flight cast of musicians, and everybody respects her because of her journey, and she is leading millions of listeners to a higher level of jazz music. So, we say thank you to the little girl who crossed the border to join us at Berkeley and then spent 10 years learning this music in the place it was created and learned it the right way. and then went back home to launch her career and never compromised on the things that matter. I salute you, Diana Jean Krall, for doing such great work your entire career. And as they say, the best is yet to come. Thank you.